Join the millions of men and women who have become one of the Fearmongers family, a revolutionary podcast series about horror authors. Stop listening to Fearmongers and seek medical help immediately if you have any of the following allergic reactions: severe rash or itching, fainting or dizziness, craving human flesh. Serious side effects may include severe stomach pain, blacking out, hallucinations, seeing the ghosts of loved ones, clay-colored stools. Contact your health provider if you experience any of the following: rage, nausea, constipation, depression, regression, possession, dehydration. Call your doctor and see if Fearmongers is right for you. Not FDA approved. And I am your host, Clay McLeod Chapman, and welcome to a Friday Fearmongers. We've never done a Friday Fearmongers before. TGI Fearmongers. Tonight we have two amazing guests for the first time ever on Fearmongers. It is Luke Dumas. Did I say that right?
No, no, but it's okay. It's
Is
okay.
it Dumas?
It's Dumas.
Dumas? Are you
Yeah,
kidding me?
I know it's a curveball.
Oh my God, I should have done my due diligence. I'm failing like right out of the gates. Luke Dumas.
I wish it were Dumas. I'm totally fine with Dumas.
Can we flip it and reverse it? Like, are you, I mean, this is we're recorded, so this is going down in history no matter what. Like,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
I've put my foot in my mouth. But like, has this been an ongoing thing? I can't be the
Ye-
first.
Oh, you're definitely not the first. There's only one pronunciation that I really object to. You can
Yeah.
imagine what it is. I don't know. Is
Yes.
this like a cursing podcast?
Totally, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, so don't call me a dumbass. But other than that, I'm fine.
Was that something that in elementary school and in kind of
Not really, but there was a commercial. I think it was like a root beer commercial or something with a
really?
guy who had my last name, and he was like in a job interview, and the guy kept, or something like, he kept saying, "Oh, Mr. Dumbass, I'm going to work really hard for you, Mr. Dumbass." And
Oh
at the end
my
of the
God.
commercial, he says, "My name is Dumas," or something like that. So I always think about that.
Um, Eric, not to like make you feel left out, joining us this evening for the third time, it's Eric LaRocca. LaRocca? LaRocca.
LaRocca,
LaRocca.
LaRocca,
LaRocca? LaRocca? LaRocca. LaRocca.
LaRocca.
LaRocca. How
Yes,
many times do you get that?
like all the time.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
I
But
see,
it's like
I
Rihanna. It's like Rihanna or Rihanna. Like it's LaRocca, LaRocca. Like I don't care. It's fine.
Right.
but you do care. You have to care.
I mean, it's fine. It's fine.
No, you're saying it like it matters. I mean, like I will confess to you, and only you guys, but we had Catriona Ward on the show like years ago, and for the life of me, like like the most kind of nervous I've ever been, was learning how to say her first name because
Yeah.
it is not the way that you think it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
And so for literally for days, I drilled like trying to say it the correct way. And the second I introduced her, I said it the incorrect way. And I like she was a trooper, but like it's amazing how I I I I will if there's a way to mispronounce someone's name, even if you've told me 1,000 times, it will be the first that's the kind of like
Mhm.
Pavlovian. I will just
That's
do it.
why we love you. We appreciate
Yeah.
you no matter what.
I make it hard sometimes, but I really appreciate the two of you coming on a Friday evening to chat with me about your amazing books. Because, I mean, you could have stopped with History of Fear. I mean, you could have stopped and called it quits at The Paleontologist, but no, you said Nothing Tastes as Good is my next novel.
Mhm.
Um, Eric, you could have, we are always tender with our dead. At dark, I become lonesome. But you said, no, this year it's going to be Wretch. And I, f- I feel as if it's one of those kind of circumstances where like every time author who is prolific has a new novel come out, there's always that moment of like, folks will say, "This is my favorite book," or "I think this is your best book." But I I do believe, I mean, I believe with all of my heart that these two books are some of your most affecting, profound, uh, amazing writing. And I want to say they're my favorites, but I know you'll have another book next year, and I'll probably want to say the same thing about that one. But I, I think the two of you have kind of leveled up in a way. And I want you to either disagree with me now or take it.
I mean, I'm very proud of this book, Wretch. Like I feel really good about it. I'm really excited for next week for release day. And I love what you said about like leveling up because I feel like every book I write, I get better. Working that muscle, it's so important for me to like develop my craft and I feel like I'm still learning. I'm still developing my voice as a writer. And, I'm very militant about my writing routine, my writing ritual. Um, it's really important for me to try to write every day if I can, at least Monday through Friday. Um, and yeah, I really appreciate you saying that you feel like this is some of my best work because I worked really hard on this project with my editor at Saga, and I do feel like it is representative of some of my best writing yet. So I really appreciate that.
I mean, is there that moment where you say to yourself, like, wow, this is really good. Like this is like I'm like is there that kind of personal epiphany, or is it the kind of response of something external, like editors, beta
I mean, it's
readers?
it's like a mix of everything because you read it so much during the editing process that you're going over these paragraphs, this manuscript like over and over again. And reading myself back is difficult sometimes because it's like, oh, why did I write that? Why did I say it like that? I should have phrased it like this, especially if you're reading a book that's already like a book of yours that's already been published. But during the editing process, it's fun for me to go over what I've written and pick apart things and say, oh no, I like this word more. I think this captures what I want to say more effectively. And um, yeah, it's like such an amazing process. And I'm really, really grateful for all the editors that I've worked with over the years, but especially grateful for my editor at Saga who commissioned me to write this book and really was respectful of my vision throughout the entire process and helped me make it something that was even better than the proposal draft that I submitted to him in the beginning.
Luke, do you feel that kind of that leveling, or is it just always kind of like head down in the trenches, like on to the next?
I mean, when I'm writing, I always feel like it's my worst book ever. Like, actually, all my good writing is behind me. I don't know how, I've forgotten how to write. What am I even doing here? But I will take the compliment. I do think this is my best book. I don't know that I will have another book. I mean, I hope my skill set continues to improve,
Yeah.
right? My craft. But I don't know that I will have another book as special as this to me because so much of my heart is in it. So much of myself is in the main character of Emmett. I mean, I would say this is by far my most autobiographical novel so far, up to a point. I mean, I am not a cannibalistic murderer
That
yet
we know of.
that we know of. I mean, I'm still young, but I do, this is very special. There's a lot of aspects of my experience, and even if it's not something that exactly happened, it's the essence of something, an experience I've had many times. And that's really special. I will say once it started to go out into the world on NetGalley and early readers were reading it, the I expected controversy. It's quite an opinionated book about fat and weight loss. And I expected there to be a lot of pushback to some of my ideas about what fatness means and what the fat experience is for some people. And man, like the reception has been so loving. Like I feel like even people who I didn't intend as the target audience feel seen in it, and that's been really special. Um, so for me, I do think this is my best. This is the most meaningful book I've written, and yeah, I'm very excited about it.
That's really you said something that's really interesting, and it's that idea that readers feel like they are seen. And I mean, what a wild concept that like you as the writer of these novels feel as if you're either writing for yourself or there's like a maybe there's a target demographic or like like who you are kind of telling the story to might not be someone on the other side of that who then finds it, finds your novel and connects to it on this level where it's like this is me. And what a I don't know, that feels like such a gift. Like how like to be kind of pleasantly surprised of like, oh, I never would have thought that this niche readership or this kind of group over here or this person over there would connect to it. But like having no control over that once the book is out there in the wild, you find that people of all kind of walks will kind of connect to it. So yeah.
Yeah, for me, when writing this book, so the book is about a fat gay guy, which is, my personal experience. And I worried that that would be too niche and that maybe I should make this about a woman, a straight woman, and that would be more commercial and it would be more accessible to a lot of readers. And I think the specificity of that experience actually makes it more accessible to people
Yeah.
because they're like, wow, I didn't know. First, I've seen a lot of people say, I didn't know men felt this way, which is a really cool thing to see that it's
Mhm.
broadening that perspective. But it just like the more you can tap into your own authentic emotion and self and that raw feeling, I think the
Mhm.
more accessible it's going to be. So I kind of learned a lesson in writing this book.
Oh, it's amazing. I love that. Like it is because we feel this kind of like pressure to reach as
Mm,
wide and large of a readership as humanly possible, and like the knee jerk, I think the kind of the generalized inclination is to go broader or less specific. But no, like it seems as if what we're saying here is that like to dig in and be a little bit more kind of specific or detail oriented to whether it's your experience or not, like it's this
mm,
characters,
mhm.
and that becomes the kind of the connective tissue. um Eric, I feel like, I mean, you've been creating such a base, a foundation of work, like a body of work that has carved and explored and kind of like achieved a certain level of like this is your voice. So I wonder if you feel kind of a similar kind of circumstance where people kind of are finding your voice and connecting to it, or if it's more of like a specific story or a specific character. Like, are they connecting to you, or are they connecting to uh, you know, someone like Simon, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it varies book by book. I know the main character of Wretch has been described as very unlikable. So I think people aren't really approaching this book and expecting that they're gonna like appreciate or sympathize with him in any way. I think he's compelling to follow, but he's not necessarily someone that you want to like go out and have drinks with, maybe.
Yeah.
Um, but that being said, I do appreciate you saying that you feel like I'm building this body of work. I mean, that's really important to me. Like all of the authors and filmmakers that I really respect and admire have like this distinct, like singular vision to them where you're reading a book by like Poppy Z. Bright, or you're reading a Kathy Koja book. You're reading a book by Michael McDowell or Clive Barker or J.G. Ballard. And it's the same with the filmmakers that I really appreciate and enjoy. Like Peter Greenaway or Lars von Trier or Takashi Miike. Like they're singular artists and they have a distinct style. I know I said before that I feel like I'm still finding my voice and my vision, but I feel like I keep maybe exploring the same sort of themes and obsessions I have in my own mind of what I want to write and what I want to analyze. And that to me, I feel like informs the body of work that I'm creating. So fetishes are big in my books, and cancer comes up a lot, and the loss of loved ones, and abandonment, and the toxicity of relationships, specifically like online relationships. So I feel like, yeah, I even though I am still growing and I am still learning, I'm definitely cultivating an overall like vibe and like an aesthetic of what I want the world of my fiction to be. And I definitely think about that. And I'm actually in edits right now for my book that's coming out next March from Saga. And I'm kind of like incorporating little Easter eggs in that book that correlate back to Wretch. So it's like this interconnected world that I'm creating. And I've done that before with other books, like calling out specific titles that I've used in the past, like in lines of dialogue in other books. So I definitely want to create like a world of my vision, like my fiction, and I want people to come to it and not necessarily know what to expect all the time, but definitely have an inkling of like, okay, this is going to be transgressive, extreme, queer horror fiction. Like that's really what like the that's what I'm going for.
Yeah.
I think
Um,
you've been, sorry if I can just
no,
gush.
no.
I think you've been incredibly successful at that. I am a little bit late to the Eric LaRocca party in that I've only read two of your books. I read At Dark I Become Loathsome and then Ratch. I just finished it today. It was
Oh my
really good.
God.
But
Thank you.
the ending, loved.
Thank you. Thank you.
Needles, love.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, I think it was amazing to me how much, like after two books, it's like, oh, I kind of get this guy. Like I get the voice. It does feel like a world, like different characters, different situations, but I just see the through line and it's very compelling. It's just very, it's like I almost feel like there's a certain experience of reading an Eric LaRocca book for
I
me that it
love
was
that.
like I feel like I'm walking through this sort of mire, this like black morass, and it's like sticking to me, but it's also purifying and it's emotional. And
Hell yeah.
it was just really, it's really special. I think what you do is very unique and
Oh my God.
love the
Thank
book.
you. Thank you so much. I'm a huge fan of your work too, just to like gush for a minute. But like your book, I'm so honored that you asked me to read an early copy of it. And I'm so excited by like the response you've gotten for this book in particular, because it is a really vicious book in a lot of places, but it's also like so beautifully done and so um tender in parts and just beautifully rendered. So I'm really just overjoyed for like all the things that are going to come your way from this book and from your past books.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. But I think it's interesting that you want to create like a very consistent world because I always think about doing the opposite. I like,
Really?
yeah, if things are too echo too much, I will
Yeah,
change it. I'm trying to, reinvent, but also not reinvent. Like it has
yeah,
to be consistent enough to keep your audience, but also
yeah.
feel like for me, what about this is going to be the new take or the new hook. Like I've had gay, all my main characters have been queer men, and
Mm,
that also was part of what made me think, should I make this a straight woman? Because
right.
am I just, I guess my insecurity is like, am I just writing myself every time? I don't know. It's like a little bit hard to not do that. And then I just decided to double down and really do it this time. But
But
um
isn't it amazing that like all three of those novels are just so singular in their tone, their style? Like I feel like that protagonist tends to be the kind of the thing that I would identify as the consistent like the kind of what you find as the connective tissue between within your body of work.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know if I'm prepared for book four. Like I can't even fathom what it will be because it like you have not prepared me for like what's next. And that's the joy that it's like you come to it being like, where are we gonna go? Where's Luke gonna take us from here? Eric, I have one question I do because you mentioned Saga, and I this is my one chance to ask this question. Forgive me, so couch it however you want. Um, but it is, am I correct in recognizing that that Wretch is your first Big Five?
Yes.
So, was there that moment of trepidation of like, oh my God, I'm bringing my voice, who I am, to the biggies, and
Mhm.
what are they going to do? Like, how are they going to take my voice and,
I was so ready and so excited and so overjoyed when Tim, my editor at Saga, approached me and my agent. I I knew he was respectful. I knew that he and I were going to get along really, really well. I knew he was going to help me craft this book to be the best that it could possibly be. So I had literally zero reservations. I mean,
Mhm.
I have been writing and grinding for many, many, many years before I even like started officially publishing. Like before I published back in 2021, things have gotten worse since we last spoke. Like I had been writing obviously for many years before then. And the goal for me was to always achieve like a certain platform, like to reach like a certain level. And for me, like Simon and Schuster is like the ultimate, I feel, especially like in publishing. And Lucas published through them as well with his novels. So he probably definitely feels the way the same way I feel, just how wonderful they are and how supportive they've been. Um, I don't want to put words in his mouth or anything, but like, they're just amazing, I feel like. And I never had any reservations with going with them. This I mean, this is something I've wanted for so long.
Yeah. Luke, you're with Atria, yeah?
Atria.
Atria. Why am I? I'm just gonna mispronounce. Is it Simone and Schuster? Um, that's you never say these words out loud, and all of a sudden you're compelled to, and you're like, no, that's not how you do it. Is it Simon and Schuster as well? Are they
Yes,
the
yes,
governing body?
they are.
Um, I I have a distinct memory of reading history, like of like your like being given an arc for your book before having been introduced to you, having met you. Like it was you get arcs and you just never know. You just never know.
Right.
Like there's that moment of like, okay, like, let's take a chance. Which who the heck am I to kind of put myself in that position? But I do remember like going in cold to a debut novel, you just never know what you're going to get. And with your debut novel, it was like, oh my God, there's there is there's something here. And it I I want to go back to that kind of question or that kind of conversation about reinvention because then I come to the paleontologist and it's like I was not I was like, we're gonna get more of what I got from that first book, but it's completely different. It
Hmm.
evolves into something new. And the same thing with your new one. I mean, like Nothing Tastes as Good is not it, there is kind of creative genetic kind of cornerstones of you in it, but it is something wholly and entirely different. And I am just like really kind of in awe of your ability to kind of write something new. So my question is, how do you as a writer kind of approach a new novel? Like are you saying to yourself, I can't do that because I did that in the last one, or I'm going to do something like how do you kind of forge ahead at the like real beginning step?
I do think that. I
Yeah.
think even more, it's like I can't do that because that feels too familiar to the genre.
Hmm.
I have points of inspiration and then I will sit on them for years. until I feel like it's fully baked in my head. For example, The Paleontologist is essentially a book about dinosaur ghosts. I mean, that's how it's known, that's how it's marketed, and rightly so. But I was obsessed with Jurassic Park growing up. I was obsessed with dinosaurs. I was a dinosaur kid, and I wanted to do my version of Jurassic Park without doing Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And I really thought for years, I don't know, like I'll probably never write a dinosaur book because it's already been done so perfectly, until I hit upon this idea of, oh, but they could be ghosts in a creepy, crumbling museum haunting it. And they still get to run around and eat people and all the things that I love. But it was a very different take and one that I hadn't seen before. So I'm always trying, like, I'm not ready to start writing unless I've hit upon something that feels fresh, like original, not just like a twist on a classic, but just a new, I don't know, inspired by a classic, but in a totally different direction. And then I have that emotional connection to it. Like there's something there that resonates with me personally in my history.
Yeah.
You know, paleontologist, it was just like the brother and sister aspect of it. Because I'm not a paleontologist. Like there's a lot of it that I had to learn and research, but I need the emotion and I need a hooky concept that feels really new.
I will 100% confess that I had writer envy when someone I can't even remember who or how I kind of first encountered the paleontologist, but like when I heard ghost dinosaurs, like it is such a kind of succinct distillation, and it's not entirely the story. There's a lot
Right.
more to it, but like you say ghost dinosaurs, and you're just like, oh my God. Like there it is. Like it's just it like it just forms, it creates a world in your imagination so quickly and succinctly that it's just like I I wish I like I wanted it. I wanted it. I wanted paleontologist. You bastard. Um I want to ask both of you, and then I'm going to dig in deeper to each of your novels. But while the three of us are together, I feel as if I can say both of you have had a really good week, and it's because your publishers have both told you that they are going into multiple printings before the novel even releases, which is wild. That's unheard of. It's absurd and it's unfair, and I'm really mad. But I want to like this is like cause for celebration, and I guess I want to ask, has that ever happened to you, either of you before? And if so, fuck you. But if not, why? What has happened? Like, what is it? Like, like you have to have asked yourself that question of like, what did I do? What's going on? That's like there's like a no pun intended, there's like a hunger for this. There's a craving for your works. And I'm just asking the dunderheaded question of why do you think that is?
I mean, I think there's a craving for horror in general right now. I mean, I think we are in such a beautiful era of the genre in fiction, and there are so many brilliant writers writing new material, publishing every month. It's just so wonderful to see. So I think the genre is in a really healthy place. I think that really has contributed to the success of these books. I also think, like, just speaking from my perspective, like watching Luke's success with Nothing Tastes as Good, that book is has such an interesting and fresh and original concept, and it like hooks you instantly. And I really feel like that captures a lot of people. And also, the cover art is just absolutely stunning for that book. It's just so beautiful. So I think it's like a perfect storm of many different variables like coming together and contributing to this kind of success. But it's wonderful to see, and I'm so grateful and so excited that it's like happening. Because horror has obviously been maligned and treated as kind of a lesser than genre for so long. I really feel like people are kind of coming around to it now, and you know, writers like Luke and many other writers like I think of like Haley Piper and V. Castro and Gemma Amor and Joe Koch, Paula D. Ashe. Like these are amazing authors writing really interesting, sophisticated horror at like another level. And I think that that is really tremendous. I think it's wonderful to see that.
I agree with everything Eric said. I think horror has become the go-to genre to explore and interrogate really socially relevant ideas and themes. And you are not like in the past, I think maybe literary fiction would have been the go-to place to dig into some of those things, but you're not saying literary fiction explore like weight loss and fatness and the new weight loss drugs. You might see some nonfiction books about those things because people are interested. Um, like grief, queer, and Eric, like your book has a lot of the way it digs into queerness is so freaking interesting. And I need to have a conversation with you about that, maybe offline, because there are
Yes.
some like
Yeah.
there are some things that is it Simeon? Is that how you
Yeah.
pronounce his name?
Yeah.
He says in the book about, being a gay man. I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. And I'm so I'm so curious about that. But I think horror has become like this is where we go for when we want to read about things that make us uncomfortable, but also things that are really serious. I don't know. I think we're in a really special time for it. And I also just want to shout out Simon and Schuster again. This will be the Simon and Schuster Love Fest. Like for investing in horror and queer horror and getting behind these books and these freaking covers. You mentioned the cover, like this is by far my favorite of your covers. It just like I think it's probably my favorite cover of the last year. Like I'm just obsessed with the cover of Wretch. So they're doing such great work, and I think also credit to them for being brave enough to like push these slightly unexpected, offbeat books so aggressively and get them out to readers.
Okay, then, Luke, let's dig in a little bit deeper with Nothing Tastes as Good because I feel like it's a good segue. Uh, you mentioned before that you have the idea and then
Mm.
you sit on it until either you've marinated on it enough or you're ready to write it. It's time. How long were you sitting on this particular story, this particular concept?
Like 20 years in the sense that I read Thinner when I was 13 and was obsessed with it. It was my first adult novel, first true horror novel. And it was the first book I ever read about a fat guy, which it's probably one of the only books I've ever read about a fat guy, honestly, all these years later. But I loved this idea of an overweight or obese man who almost like his dream comes true. He's losing weight at crazy speed. He doesn't need to diet or exercise, but then it becomes a nightmare. And I knew that just stayed with me. I knew I wanted to write something like that. I didn't know at 13 I wanted to be a novelist necessarily, but man, it stayed with me. And so I always knew I wanted to do something like that. And then, um, but for me, it's always that, okay, but what's my version? What's my
Yeah.
take? What feels nothing like Thinner, but is thinner. And I knew I wanted to do a clinical trial. Like that was going to be the vehicle for the plot years ago,
Yeah.
way before Ozempic was a thing.
But
But then it became a thing, and I'm like, okay, now this is culturally relevant. We're
yeah.
having new and different conversations about fatness and weight loss. It's time to write this book.
But that's the thing. Like, I think, we're talking a lot about, we're hypothesizing about like why are these books hitting right now? I it blows my mind to think that this is a story that you've kind of had gestating for decades. And then thinking about, you write a book, and if we're fortunate enough for it to be published or to kind of be in that publishing developmental pipeline, I mean, that's one, if not two, if not three or more years of pitching to hitting the shelves. And your book is coming out at a time that it feels like by design, like we are now kind of in this Ozempic kind of fever pitch. And I mean, how far back were you kind of in the kind of like log lining, pitching, kind of developing, like crafting the story to then get to like, oh my God, like looking out the window or watching an ad on TV or like seeing the world kind of catch up to your story?
I mean, I sold this book in November 2023. So it felt like the conversations around Ozempic were just like it had been around for a long time, but it certainly hadn't, like, I hadn't been hearing about it. I don't think we'd been talking about it as a
Mhm.
society in a real way. Much before that, I remember hearing about it like on a radio show as I was driving home. And so it had to be that year.
Mhm.
And like it's taken a long time for it to be published. So it's been, I turned in the first draft of it like June 2024. So almost 2 years before its publication. And I will tell you, I was like not happy when I found out it was going to take almost 2 years for them to actually publish it. I was like, oh my God, this whole Ozempic craze is going to be over in 2 years. Or if not, then everyone will have done this already. Like it's just going to be old news. And actually, I feel like I got really lucky because it almost feels like it's at the peak now. Everyone is on a drug or knows someone who's on a drug. They're being fed these, promoted ads constantly. I have to again, I have to credit the professionals. They know what they're doing, and I'm glad I shut my mouth and just let them do their thing.
Someone at Simone and Schuster like looked into their crystal ball and they said, "This is the year. This is the
Yeah.
moment we have to push this book." For the uninitiated, can you kind of pitch us what, Nothing Tastes as Good is about?
Sure. It is a body horror thriller about a guy named Emmett. He is over 300 pounds. He has always struggled with his weight. He's tried everything under the sun to try to lose weight and hasn't been successful. And at the time that we meet him, he is just at a dead end in his life. Like he's not going anywhere at work. His love life is going nowhere, and he feels like he's out of options. And he comes across a promoted ad to join a clinical weight loss trial for this revolutionary new weight loss drug called Obexity. And he decides to go for it. And he finds to his surprise that it is extremely effective. He loses weight super fast without doing any diet or exercise. And his life turns around pretty much overnight. I mean, everything he believed, in all the ways he believed his life would be better, thin, it is. But there are some unsavory side effects to this drug. He is losing stretches of time. He is waking up with blood on his hands, and people who were very cruel to him have started to go missing. And the police are warning of a cannibalistic killer on the loose, and he worries that the drug might be turning him into a monster. And does he even want to get off of it because his life is so good? I mean, people are treating him like a human being for the first time.
That's amazing. I'm impressed you used the C word because I feel like, there's the discovery in the book. But it's there. I don't think it's spoiler territory. But I I am curious. I feel like there's a certain kind of litmus test to this book for readers, and it's that idea of like how does one kind of engage with the material itself, with the story itself. And for me, I was reading it, and there would just be moments of kind of like laughing out loud, kind of like a gasp laugh of just like, oh my God. and and I don't know if I was prepared for what I perceived to be kind of like a kind of sharp, biting, no pun intended, satire. That there is a certain kind of streak of comedy to it. But then I had a moment of saying, wait a minute, is that just is that me? Like I'm curious how much of this book is a mirror for the reader to kind of see their own kind of inherent internal darkness? Like do you find readers coming to you and being like, that was hilarious, versus like other readers coming to you being like, that was disturbing and like, very serious? Like, is there a spectrum to it, or is it, I
I
don't know.
think for the most part, readers are coming saying both things,
Yeah.
that it is very dark and biting and funny and emotional and all of that together. I really didn't intend for it to be a mirror. I really wanted to write from my perspective. I knew I could give my perspective very authentically as a guy who has lost 100 pounds and gained 100 pounds over like a couple of times. I have lived that life, and I know what it's like to move through the world in a fat body. Not that I have I represent, or Emmett represents, like the universal fat experience. That doesn't exist. Different people experience the world differently, but I could represent my experience. And I wanted to shine a light on that. Like, it's not a perspective we see a lot in fiction. I don't think we get into the heads of fat characters very often through that lens. And when we do, I will reference Thinner. Like, Stephen King is not an obese man. Stephen King's book does not, as much as I love that book, it does not read like it was written by an obese man in the sense that he understands that experience. So I wanted to do that. And
Yeah.
I think that my natural like cynicism and sarcasm just sort of came out. And it does become like, depending on your perspective as a reader, it can become an uncomfortable mirror. Or if for those who maybe have experienced body shame or weight issues, it mirrors their experience. And then there are some readers who don't have that experience, and maybe it mirrors for them something more uncomfortable, something uglier, in the sense that, oh, I might have said something like that to a fat person, thinking it was helpful or kind, or I just wasn't thinking about it.
Mhm.
But now it's making me think back, like, oh, did I hurt someone? Did I say something? Did I make a faux pas? Or um, that's really that's what I want to achieve with the book, is not to make any definitive statements about how you should behave, but just to make people think more critically about
Yeah.
their assumptions and the things that they do and say.
I think the takeaway for the night for me, the kind of writerly advice is going to be, the more personal you can write about your own experience, the more universal that connective tissue to the reader becomes. And it's not about going big or going broad in order to reach a larger readership. It's that you have to do the exact opposite. You have to go internal. You have to go personal and emotional to be honest, to be true.
Mm.
I think that's really great, Luke. Thank you. Um, Eric, I feel as if the most startling thing about Wretch is that it is a one-word title. And I don't think your readership was necessarily prepared for the moment where it's like, and the unveiling for my new novel is Wretch.
Yep. I always want to keep them guessing, you know?
I mean, there is a subtitle. In all
Yeah.
fairness, there is, in your defense, there
Yeah,
is
there is the subtitle.
the
Yeah.
unbecoming of porcelain call. But like, cheekiness aside, like, was that a kind of conscious decision? Like, or, what was the conversation behind picking this title?
Yeah, so I mean that was definitely a conversation I had with my editor at Saga, because I do have some books also being published by Titan in the UK, but they also have distribution through Penguin Random House here in the States. A lot of my previous book titles are very like poetic and baroque and very like flowery sort of language. They're almost like sentences. They're like Giallo film titles, you know. That's how I refer to them as. Um, but when I sat down with my editor at Saga, I really said we both agreed that we want our partnership together to be very different and visibly different from the books I'm releasing with Titan so that we can differentiate between the two. It's almost like two separate eras of like a musical artist. Um, so we kind of just chatted and I said, well, what if we did like a one word title? That would be like, you know, a big game changer. And that was one way of marking it as like this new sort of chapter for me as like, you know, an author at a big five publishing imprint. I also feel like the book is really significantly different from my other work, not so much in like content and theme because I'm playing into like a lot of my obsessions, a lot of the things that fascinate me like cancer and grief and yearning, stuff like that. Um but I am the novel Wretch, I feel like someone described it to me recently as like my most patient novel, and it's very, which is like another way to say it's like a slow burn, basically. Uh, and it is that slow burn. And I'm not really known for writing those sort of patient, like meandering, reflective, meditative sort of books. But I wanted this book to be that. I wanted it to be a little different than my like very aggressive, confrontational, in your face sort of like splatterpunk material. Um, so I feel like though that combination, the one word title and then like the execution of how I went about creating this book, how I went about writing it, I feel like both of them are enough to make it stand out, hopefully. And that's not to say that my Titan books, you know, are no less valuable in my eyes. Like I'm really excited for my book, my second book of my Burnt Sparrow trilogy that's coming out later this year from Titan. It's coming out in September. It's the follow-up to my first book, the in the trilogy. So the second one's called We Turn Gruesome at Night. I'm really looking forward to that. So, but we just wanted to like differentiate between the
Yeah.
two publishing imprints and like how I'm sort of navigating the literary space.
Yeah. Um, I it's interesting to hear you kind of speak to your obsessions. Um, Thinking of grief. I feel like I've come to a lot of your books recently. Um, your more kind of recent output has kind of focused on this idea of remembrance and this idea of, you know, when we are forced to let go of someone we love, like what that does to the living. But with Wretch, it's almost like you're asking the question of like, what does that do to the dead?
Yeah.
um, and you know, I'm queuing you up. Forgive me, and it's just because we had had an earlier conversation about this, so I really want to get to it. But like, you've spoken to me, and I think you've spoken publicly about this, about like the kind of genesis of the book. And I know there are a lot of different threads of it all kind of culminating into this one idea, but like, can you speak to your own kind of personal impetus for writing Rich?
Yeah, so it's this book is really rooted in an experience I had as like a teenager. I was really very close with this actress who lived in my hometown in Connecticut. I lived in a really isolated rural community, and she was this like very famous, well-known Hollywood actress that moved into our community. And because I was so interested in theater and the arts, she like took me under her wing and really like nurtured my talent and really showed me like what my life could be like if I stayed militant, if I was diligent about my writing. She really showed me what how great my life could be as an artist, as someone in the arts. And a few years after meeting her and, you know, being sort of like her protege, she passed away from breast cancer. So it was a really just a shock to my system to experience that loss at such a young age. To experience to first of all to watch her sort of deteriorate over the months that I, witnessed her unfortunate demise. It was really destabilizing in a lot of ways, and it like tainted the world for me, like my worldview, like everything around me sort of like mutated, and my view of people and of like loss in general. I just associated so much shame with loss. And when I was thinking about what I wanted to write for my commissioned novel for Simon and Schuster, I really was thinking about loss, losing a loved one, but more importantly, memory, and how memory can be sort of like distorted and warped over the years. When you lose a loved one, are you actually remembering what they were really like and what they really thought of you? Or is it your own perspective, your own biases, your own judgments being reflected back at you? And that really unsettled me because I reflected so much on my relationship with this amazing person. And I started to wonder, like, was the friendship the same, was my friendship reciprocated the same way? I started to feel a lot of doubt the further I got away from her death, and it really it was really destabilizing in a lot of ways. So that's really what the crux of Wretch is about. It's about you know, pursuing someone from beyond the grave, like someone who's passed away, pursuing them so assiduously, so earnestly, and them wanting nothing to do with you, like wanting nothing to do with you at all. And that to me is just like the ultimate horror. That to me is just like so terrifying to think about, that we're the ones putting like we're the ones suffering, we're the ones putting so much love into this like empty vessel now, someone who's passed away. um it's I felt like it was really fertile ground for a horror novel.
If I was to ask, for the uninitiated, if you were to kind of pitch us the story of Wretch, is that what it would be, or would you dig a little deeper?
Yeah, Wretch is a body horror, psychological horror novel that is about a grieving man named Simeon Link who experiences the loss of his husband to cancer. And while grieving, he finds himself going into like these online forums late at night, trying to like make sense of his grief, trying to understand his identity, his queerness, all of these things. And he stumbles upon this group known as the Wretches. And the Wretches offer this really interesting sort of therapy in that they make you take photos of like inanimate objects, and they try to look for evidence and like little flickers of proof of their departed loved ones in these photographs. So like it's very similar to like people who have seen like uh the face of like Jesus on toast, or in like the grain of wood, like people see faces. It's along those lines. So he infiltrates this group, he becomes a member, and from there he's introduced to another person who can help him, known as Porcelain Caw. And this figure, this mysterious figure, offers another very interesting sort of therapy in that he provides you with one last intimate moment with your departed loved one, but it comes at a very deadly price. And that's
Hmm.
essentially the elevator pitch for the novel. But it's really rooted in like body horror and psychological terror. And yeah, it's really about like stalking someone who is already dead to the point where they want literally nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Um, oh, it's amazing. It's such a great book. And I'm curious if you think you know, in your body of work and people kind of responding as strongly as they have to Wretch, is it, oh my God, I'm gonna ask this question. Is it Eric showing restraint? Is it is it like I'm going, like you said, slow burn, and I agree, like there's a pace to it that might feel different than some of your other books. But like I find the dam is there, and I'm
Mm,
aware of the deluge waiting for me on the other side of that dam, and it's just
mm.
a matter of when will the dam break.
And the
Um,
dam breaks in this book. It definitely breaks.
the dam breaks.
Yes.
Uh, but it's later on in the book, and it's it's a slow burn. It's but slow burn isn't always a bad thing because I think some people forget that slow burn means really great reward at the end, usually. And everything sort of comes together at the end, at the finale of this book, and you find out what's actually going on. And it's really disturbing and upsetting and compelling, hopefully. So I'm really interested to hear what people think of it.
Yeah. I mean, it is such a treat, honestly, to talk to both of you on the what is in effect the eve of these novels being released into the world, because we are in this exact moment in the unknowing of it. Like we have no clue. Like Goodreads kind of gives us a little bit of a barometer, like, those initial reviews start to trickle in. Your publicist, your editor, like people start talking to you about, like, well, we got this buy-in over here and these people are really excited over there. But like we just don't know. And like we're sharing that right now. Like you two do not know what the hell is going to happen in a week or two. And there's no question here other than just kind of like honoring the kind of the specialness of it, the kind of fragile, tender kind of like I don't know, like that unknowing is terrifying. And if I were in your shoes, I'd probably be pooping in my pants. But like it's also really kind of exciting because I don't know, a month from now, we could look back at this, listen to it, and be like, oh, wow, I didn't know then what I know now. And that's, I don't know, that feels just rare. And
It's like
kind
dying almost. Like after you
of,
die, you find out the secret. You know what happens,
yeah.
You
Oh
know what
my God.
happens after that. So,
I leave it to Eric to like bring it back to it is a little bit, it's a le petit mort.
yeah.
Just a little one.
I
Um,
agree though. I find like I actually don't feel nervous. I feel very excited for this book to be out in the world, but I always do. And I think it's such like sometimes the actual release, at least for me and my experience with my first two books, is a little anticlimactic. Like there's so much anticipation and you get to pub day and people are super excited and then it kind of like drops off a cliff a little bit and oh, is it successful? You maybe have to wait a week to see if it's hit a list, and it just gets quiet and depressing for a little bit. I mean, I hope
Yeah.
both these books will do well, and so that excitement continues beyond, pub day and a couple days after. But I think this is the best part, at least in my experience so far. It's like it's
yeah.
exciting. People are they're telling me how much they love it, and I just get to be happy, and anything is possible. Haven't
I love
failed
that.
yet.
I love that. I agree. I totally agree.
Well, I love both of these books.
Mm.
And I do think that they are some of your strongest writing, if not the strongest. And I feel very privileged that I was able to kind of read them ahead of the rest of the world. But the rest of the world's going to get them really, really soon. Wretch comes out March 24th. Nothing Tastes as Good comes out March 31st. So whenever you're listening to this, dear listeners, you've either they are on the shelves as we speak or they're getting there pretty soon. So you should definitely keep these authors in business. Simone and Schuster's needs your monies. Um, Yeah, Luke, Eric, I can't thank you two enough for kind of sharing in the unknowing before the big days. Congratulations to both of you guys, and thank you for coming on the Fearmongers.
Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. I hope you invite me back at least two more times so I can
I
get
know
better.
the bar is set now. I can't, Eric. I can't have you on for at least
I
more
get it.
days.
I get
So
it.
I
I'm old news anyway. It's fine.
oh no, no, no. Guys, have a wonderful weekend. It's honestly, it's a pleasure. And yeah, congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.